Hello, my name's Niall and I'm a story builder at Discover. And today I've been building this blanket fort out of scarves and blankets. And the scarves are from a place called India. And that made me think all about stories from India. And there's one I wanted to tell you about an elephant called Keith. Can I see your elephant trunks? Can you go? Very good. Well, in this story, there's an elephant called Keith, and people think that he can't do lots of things, but he always can. And there's a part you can join in with. Whenever I say, but, you can say, Keith the elephant could. Shall we give it a try? Okay. But, Keith the elephant could. The story is written by Niall Moorjani, and the illustrations are by Binsky. I hope you enjoy it. Izzy was having the best day. She had met an elephant called Keith. Well, she thought he looked like a Keith, so that's what she called him. And very quickly, they were the best of friends. Izzy thought Keith was very impressive. You see, he could eat his entire body weight in sugarcane with his trunk. He could make a great big wind tunnel with his ears. And he was remarkably good at hopscotch. Keith thought Izzy was very impressive too. She could eat her entire body weight in sweets. She could tell if he liked butter or not by using a flower, and she was remarkably bad at hopscotch. It wasn't very long before Izzy and Keith were the best of friends in the whole wide universe. Whenever Keith smiled, Izzy would smile back at him, and they would share a great big hug. Izzy had been in India visiting her grandparents, but she lived in a faraway place, and one day her mum said, "Come, Izzy, time to go home. Say goodbye to the big elephant." "He's called Keith," said Izzy. "Very well, say goodbye to Keith." Izzy had a thought. "Mum," she said with a cheeky grin, "can Keith the elephant fit inside my suitcase and come with us to the airport?" And Izzy's mum wrinkled her brow and said, "An elephant will never fit in a suitcase." But Keith the elephant could. And when they got to the airport, Izzy looked at her mummy and said, "Mum, can Keith the elephant come on the plane with us?" And Izzy's mum huffed and puffed, "An elephant will never fit on an aeroplane." But Keith the elephant could. And they flew all the way home. And when they got there, Izzy asked her mummy, "Mum, can Keith the elephant come to our house and have dinner?" And Izzy's mum said, "Oh no, Izzy, an elephant will never enjoy British food." But of course, Keith the elephant could. He loved it. He couldn't understand all the fuss. Particularly, he enjoyed the Victoria sponge cake. Om nom nom. Then Izzy looked at her mum and said, "Mum, can Keith the elephant come to my room and have a tea party with all my toys?" And Izzy's mum said, "Oh no, Izzy, an elephant will never fit in your tiny bedroom." But Keith the elephant could. His bottom was out the window and his head was out the door, but there was just enough room for him to give each of Izzy's toys a great big hug. For a while, everything was wonderful and fun. But one day, Keith was looking out of the window with a sad face, as if he was longing for something far away. "What's wrong with Keith?" asked Izzy. "Keith is probably a little homesick, Izzy. Maybe it is time for him to go home." "No," said Izzy, "he'll just be bored." So the next day she took him to school. Even though it was Izzy's favourite class, Keith didn't much like maths, but he did love art. He did lots of painting with his trunk and was having a great time until he slipped and his bottom went in a great big tub of paint and paint went splash everywhere. The children thought it was very funny and went tee, but the teacher was very grumpy and said, "Naughty, naughty elephant." And Keith was very embarrassed and looked even sadder than before. The day after that, they went to the park. They went round and round and round on the roundabout. They went bounce, 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 bounce on the trampoline. And Izzy went whoosh on the big slide. But when Keith tried to go on the big slide, he just went because his bottom got stuck halfway down. Izzy thought it was very funny, but Keith was very embarrassed, and he looked sadder than any elephant she had ever seen. That night, she went back to her mummy and asked, "Oh, Mummy, whatever I try, Keith looks sad. What can I do?" And Izzy's mum replied, "Well, he isn't exactly fitting in very easily. And he's probably still homesick. These things together can make us very sad. Maybe it's time for Keith to go home." Izzy thought. She thought about how sad she would be if Keith went, and how she didn't want him to go. But then she thought about how Keith should never be sad just to make her happy. She looked at her mum and said, "Let's take Keith home." And so they flew all the way back to India. And Keith looked so excited to be there with his friends. They bounced and jumped and he smiled just like he used to. And Izzy was happy for him. But she was going to miss him. As they waved goodbye, she turned to her mum and said, "Mum, can Keith the elephant fit inside my heart so he'll be with me forever?" And Izzy's mum replied, "Oh, Izzy, I am so sorry. Not even an elephant like Keith can fit inside a person's heart." And she gave Izzy a cuddle to make her feel better. But Keith the elephant could. Because you see, hearts are endlessly large when it comes to love. And that is the end of the story. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story. I know I love telling it. Remember that no matter how far away you are from those you love, they're always with you in your heart. Have a lovely day and goodbye.